Intro to my life, part two. All right, that's just a joke. All right, that's just a joke. Anyway, this is intro to my life, part two. Welcome back. Glad you guys are watching this. That must mean that you're interested to see why I'm posting an introduction to my life. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's kind of weird. Are you stalking me? No, no, no. That's a joke. All right. Stay here. All right. So this is intro to my life, part two, and um, so where I want to begin is I want to start off small and then just build up a little by little by little by little by little until I stop. You guys gotta wait. So yeah, I already gave you a spoiler alert. So here we go. I grew up in Pennsylvania, um, and many of you might know that. I became a lifeguard at age 15, um, which was in 2016, I think. I was born in 2000. So in October of that year, I'll be that age. So, for an instance, this year, 2018, this October, I will be 18. So it's pretty easy to keep track of how old I am. I just have to subtract one if it's not October. So it's pretty easy. I'm 17 right now. So let's begin. Let me tell you why I want to become a lifeguard first, and then I'll go down and then I'll go up. But the reason why I wanted to become a lifeguard is because I love to talk to people. If you guys can't tell yet, I talk a lot. I just really like to talk to people. Not only do I like to talk, but I also like to listen to people. I like to hear their stories, what they have to say, uh, what they think, um, and I it kind of gets uncomfortable to a point because when I talk to people, um, I always act a little bit. I don't want to say like I don't know how to say it. I always am different, I guess, when I talk to people, because when I talk to people, and what I mean by that is when I talk to people, um, I'm reading them. I'm watching their body language. I'm watching their eyes. I'm watching the way they're moving. I'm watching the way they're talking, how they're talking, their tone, um, what words they're saying, before, after, during, what they mean. Um, so a lot of times, if you see my face, if I'm going like with my head, that means I'm just thinking. I'm thinking of what you're doing because I don't really understand some stuff. Um, and the main reason I do that is because I like to know who they really are, because everybody hides their true self. Everybody has a mask. Now, I'm not saying that everybody in the whole world, everybody does that. I'm just saying sometimes everybody will do that. Um, Now there may be an exception. Some people may not do that, but I think it's very highly unlikely. Um, so the reason why I size people up is I like to learn what they're trying to say, what they're doing. Um, so being a lifeguard helps me do that because, I always have to size up the scene, make sure that there's no uh, dangers, watch the pool that I work at, watch the people, the kids, make sure people aren't running, doing backflips or dives, simple things like that, even though it's not simple at all. But yeah, I just love to talk to people. And I mean, ever since I was a little kid, I always was like that. I would always talk, I would always just be around people. Um, so I would say that is one of the main things. Also, another thing is that I wanted to become a lifeguard is because I mean I just love to swim. I mean, I used to be very fast, and I used to be able to beat everybody, except for another lifeguard. And nobody races me anymore because I'm just so fast. Um, And the reason why I'm using past tense is because I haven't really been able to do that much now, for two reasons. One, because I am just, I'm a junior in high school now, and there's just a lot of things on my plate. And the other reason is that nobody races me, so I can never test my limits. I can never push harder or faster or more. I just am stuck to where I am at. So that's why I say used to. Do I try to race my own time? Yeah, I try to do that, but that goes to what my next point is. Now I want to go backward. When I mentioned that I always love to talk to people, I literally meant that. I love to talk to people. I talk to people at my job all the time, and I'm not lifeguarding in another job. I talk to people whenever I can. I just like to talk to them and listen to them and hear what they have to say, and their stories. Everybody has a story, whether you believe you do or don't. You do have one. And if you don't have a story, then you're living in it right now, because everybody has a story, because we're history. And when we're history, we're his story. So we're God's story. So when I was little, I became a pastor's kid when I was basically when I was born. My dad went to college to become a pastor, but he was still preaching and making his own church little by little when he was in college. So ever since I was a baby till about 5 years old, I was living at the university. I was living at the Valley Forge Christian College, which is now the University of Valley Forge, which is where my sister is going. And the University of Valley Forge is an amazing campus for many reasons. And one of the main reasons why I love it so much is because it just feels like home. I mean, I don't remember much, but it just feels like another home because I've been there. I know I've been there. One thing I do remember very well about living at the University of Valley Forge, at Valley Forge Christian College, is that when I was, 4 or 5 years old, I dressed up in a tuxedo, a suit, and I had a tie on, and I don't know where my parents were, but I remember I took out my Bible, my picture Bible, and I put it on a stand, and I would pretend to preach to people. I would pretend to speak to them and preach to them, and I would pretend I was a pastor. I always wanted to be a pastor ever since I was little. I don't know why I did that when I was little, but I just know that I have felt the calling now as I grew older. And that was something that has always been in my heart, is preaching, teaching people. Um, when I was living in this house, ever since I was 6, I lived here. And for a couple years, I would remember just having my window open, and I had a weird imagination. I would always imagine these different things. And one thing I really remember well is that when I would go out the window, not go out the window, but when I would look out the window and the window was open and it was like summer, it was spring, it was so nice out, or it was fall, it wasn't cold, it wasn't freezing, it was just nice. I looked out the window and I would imagine people walking by, so many people, and all of a sudden they would stop as I started to speak to them. And I would start preaching and teaching, and I would start talking to them, and all of a sudden they would just all pile up all over my front backyard, all over my backyard. And I would just continue to preach and preach and preach and preach. And then all of a sudden I would just stop, and I would give an altar call, and I would pretend people came and prayed to God for salvation. And I would remember I got so hyped up that I just would say, "Thank you, come back tomorrow." And then I would close my window and I would start jumping up and down on my bed.